Oh, wow. Top of the morning, top of the evening, top of the night, whatever time zone you are on. I am live again. I don't like the way this light is hitting in the background. I know I said I would come back on and go over a host of information. Okay, how many times? Okay, let's see. I'm watching this on the monitor right here. All right. Okay, that's good enough. Okay. So, whoop, whoop, Michigan voted tonight. Yeah. Um, I am watching as the votes come in for the person who will do the standoff against number 45 for presidents of the United States later on this year. Michigan, to my Michiganders, thank you for voting. What was it? Estimated around 800,000 voted absentee this time. 66% of the Black vote at this point in Michigan, and they're not done counting. We're not done counting this state. Went to Joe Biden. It's already been projected. Joe Biden has won the state of Michigan. Now, for people who participate in the political process, Joe Biden winning the state of Michigan is no big surprise to me, and this is why I was born and raised in this state. That's number one. Number two, this state is a auto state, manufacturing. GM, Ford, and Chrysler, all in the state of Michigan. Okay, auto manufacturing state that revolutionized the entire world. This state, not only that, when the auto industry was going to fail and they had to reconstruct, it was either reconstruction, what they call auto bailout, or have them completely fold. President Obama administration came up, drafted the plan, and bailed them out to help the auto industry. Joe Biden was his vice president, so I'm not surprised that him against Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders voted no for the auto bailout. Him against somebody who helped draft the auto bailout versus a person who voted no to bail the big three out in this state. So I'm not surprised that Joe Biden got Michigan tonight. That's no big surprise to me, because for this state, the auto industry had been the bread and butter of the state for so long. Ford, GM, and Chrysler, Fisher Body, Chevrolet, all that here. So that's my spill on that. Now, do I really need to? I have a lot of videos put, well, not videos, I have a lot of websites that I am going to show, excuse me, when we go and take a look at until people get an understanding that number 45 is very different from President Obama. Now, a lot of people have been saying, well, oh, it's two the same. Hold on. We're going to go and look at their policies. And I'm going to start with Jeff Sessions and Barr when I talk about these administrations, the different administrations' policy. since people want to talk about what's been advantageous for them. I'm gonna start right there. I'm gonna start with the policing. I'm gonna start right there. When I discuss this administration, big banks, Federal Reserves lent them billions last year. I said we were on the precipice of an economic downturn. People act like they are so shocked this year, and they want to say it's COVID-19 why the market is not doing and performing well. That's just a factor. That's not the whole pie. That's just a piece. We looked at what the Federal Reserves and big banks were doing last year under this administration, okay? I'm gonna make it plain. We looked at who was creating jobs. We looked at the US economy. And yes, it's a big difference in these two administrations. So I need people not to be confused when trying to compare and say these two administrations are the same. No, they're not. So the stock market steadily declining, being on a downward spiral, should not shock anyone this year, especially when the Federal Reserves was lending banks, Chase, and the other big banks money last year. Hello. Anytime the Federal Reserve steps in to lend big banks money, that means big banks don't have it. They don't have the capital they need to operate from day to day. Not only do they not have the capital they need to operate, they can't even borrow from the other bank, because the bank that they normally borrow from, because big banks borrow from big banks, they didn't have it. They had to go to the feds. The last time we seen this was when George Bush was in office and we went into a recession. It was headed that way last year. We looked at it. So who is shocked that the stock market, oh, it's plummeting. That's why I said, let's pay attention to some things that were going on that the news media did not play up like they should have last year. That was one of them. Like I said, we're going to hit Jeff Sessions and Barr, because we do see the electrocutions happening. We are going to compare the economies. And we're going to look at the judges. We're going to look at the way the deck has been stacked for the last 4 years, almost 4 years. We're going to look at policies. Yeah. Since people want to be disingenuous about the information of these two administrations, we're going to look at facts, and it's going to go in the true or false category, and yes or no. It's either going to be true or false. The answer to the question is not going to be open-ended. It's going to be yes or no. Coronavirus. I'm going to play that. Excuse me for the shakiness. Because this number 45 said it was a hoax, right? He cut. Oh, let me make sure I pull this one up. I want to make sure I go here, because the person he put in charge of the Center of Disease Control still justify the cuts being made to the Center of Disease Control. Right, the Center of Disease Control, the ones who research information about the different diseases, cancer, diabetes, COVID-19, HIV, and the others. You cut funding from that. Yeah, we're going to talk about this administration, since people want to be disingenuous about information. We're going to compare and contrast. agriculture, okay? You want to step over into the agriculture department and cut that too, funding for that too. The ones who deal with, you know, whether or not our food is going to have E. coli, and make sure everything is being checked, and, you know, green disease or in meat or whatever. Yeah, agriculture, funding for that got cut. So people want to be disingenuous about this administration. Oh, we're going to go there. But let me go with the disingenuous information that coronavirus was a hoax. Now you have people dead. And for the family members who have died from coronavirus, I would turn around and sue the government. I would sue the White House. I would sue this administration. I would sue them. And I would use the Constitution, because when they swear into office, they swear in to protect the nation and the citizens of the nation in the United States of America. They had the opportunity to get a handle on COVID-19, and they did not. And cutting the Center of Disease Control will not help you get a handle on anything. Okay, it takes money to run that. All right. Now people are dead. This could have been avoided. People were warning them about this last year. They just ignored it. And then let me show number 45 saying it's a hoax. And hello to the people in the chat. You're here. So let me pull this one right here. I don't want the one that says me. Okay, I have it pulled up. All links to videos will be in the description below once I go back in and edit. Excuse me for the loud clicks in the background. My laptop is kind of loud. Give a share here. So here we go. Let's roll with it.
Now the Democrats are politicizing the coronavirus. You know that, right? Coronavirus. They're politicizing it. We did one of the great jobs. You say, how's President Trump doing? They go, oh, not good, not good. They have no clue. They don't have any clue. They can't even count their votes in Iowa. They can't even.
Keep playing and people die.
No, they can't. And this is their new hoax. But you know, we did something that's been pretty amazing. We're 15 people in this massive country. And because of the fact that we went early, we could have had a lot more than that. We will do everything in our power to keep the infection and those carrying the infection from entering our country. We have no choice. Whether it's the virus that we're talking about or many other public health threats, the Democrat policy of open borders is a direct threat to the health and well-being of all Americans. Now you see it with the coronavirus. You see it. I also created a White House
because this clown, this is the same clown
task force. It's
that
a big
said
thing. A
the
virus task
coronavirus
force
was a hoax before. Let me find that one, because he just carrying on and with some foolishness. And when he did come to this state, when he was running for president years ago, almost 4 years ago, when he was in Flint, a female pastor, which does not surprise me, pulled his coattail and made him sit down. Now, see, she sure did. She set him right down. Where's the person who's been able to pull his coattail in his administration and make him sit his behind all the way down? Especially when he veers off into foolishness. And he wanted to say somebody's politicizing. Excuse me, you have people over here dying and you said it was fake at first. Your administration has cut the Center of Disease Control's funded. And as of today, the person you put in charge of that still is sitting up there justifying cuts being made to the Center of Disease Control, which not only deal with the present diseases that we have, it deals with trajectory of diseases that are to come. And it's supposed to be proactive and not reactive. I'm listening to this in the background. It's foolishness. Okay. What is this? Okay, let me run the foolishness. Let me go back. Excuse me, because you all know on this channel, I attempt not to show number 45, and I attempt not to let the preposterous, the utterly preposterous words that he speaks continuously be played in the airwaves on this channel. But I gotta play his own words. I gotta play his own words. You can hear for yourself. Okay, I have the video queued in the background, and once again, the videos will be in the description below once the edits are done. Here we go.
You know, a lot of people think that goes away in April with the heat. Because of all we've done, the risk to the American people remains very low. People die from the flu, and this is very unusual. And it is a little bit different, but in some ways it's easier, and in some ways it's a little bit tougher. But we have it so well under control. I mean, view this the same as the flu. When somebody sneezes, I mean, I try and bail out as much as possible. It's going to disappear. One day, it's like a miracle. It will disappear. And from our shores, it could get worse before it gets better. It could maybe go away. We'll see what happens. Nobody really knows. The fact is, the greatest experts, I've spoken to them all, nobody really knows. We're ordering a lot of supplies. We're ordering a lot of elements that, frankly, we wouldn't be ordering unless it was something like this. But we're ordering a lot of different elements of medical. Now the Democrats are politicizing the coronavirus. And this is their new hoax. If you're healthy, you will probably go through a process and you'll be fine. You take a solid flu vaccine, you don't think that would have an impact or much of an impact on corona?
No. He's asking the question, when is it going to be deployable? And that is going to be at the earliest a year to a year and a half, no matter how fast you go.
You think that's right?
As you said, because treatment's going to be available before the vaccine. That's why.
Well, I think treatment in many ways might be more exciting.
If, we have thousands or hundreds of thousands of people that get better just by, sitting around and even going to work.
Now, this is why that's one of the reasons why I don't play number 45 often over here, but I wanted you to hear his own words. It's a hoax. It's a Democrat hoax. No, it's a real virus. And COVIDs are not new, but the COVID-19 virus is new. This specific strain is new, okay? It's not a hoax. It's a real virus and people are dying for real. Yeah, there have been deaths behind this. As a matter of fact, the death toll in other nations continue to rise and the death toll over here has increased. So, yeah, they could have got a handle on this in 2019. But I guess when you cut and repeal, cut funding for things that shouldn't be cut for, like life. Put money into researching and coming up with different vaccines or methods of controlling various diseases. When you cut the funding for that, to me, that's not saying you really value the lives of the nation, of the people which you govern. That you okay. And to the other senator who who is making a mockery of the COVID-19 virus, who happens to be a Republican. Now you got it and you're sitting at home. Is it still funny? Is it still a joke? Let me get to him too. I want to know, is it still funny and is it still a joke? Excuse me for the loud typing in the background. So here it is once again, disclaimer in the bottom of the chat. In accordance to the Copyright Act, guess what? This is public information. I can air it to the other media outlets. You'll see my copyright disclaimer below. Let me get to this. Okay, let me pull up this one. Okay, let me pause it right here. This is once again my apologies for the loud clicks in the background. Links once again to our videos will be in the description below once the edits are made to the video.
In our politics lead today, do you remember a week and a half ago at CPAC? The Conservative Political Action Conference, when President Trump staff, Mick Mulvaney, you see him there, accused the media of overhyping coronavirus fears in an effort to, quote, bring down the president. Well, it is probably worth pointing out that since then, a CPAC attendee has been quarantined after testing positive for the virus, and at least 4 Republican members of Congress who attended CPAC are in self-quarantine today after interacting with that attendee. Senator Ted Cruz of Texas, Congressman Doug Collins of Georgia, Paul Gosar of Arizona, and Matt Gaetz of Florida. Gaetz, just 5 days ago, apparently thought it was amusing to tweet a photo of himself voting for coronavirus funding wearing a gas mask. Gaetz, we should point out, was also just on Air Force One with President Trump this afternoon. And as CNN's Caitlin Collins reports, advisors to President Trump are trying to encourage him to stop minimizing the potential problem, as his former chief of staff and Matt Gaetz once did.
Matt Gaetz has tested positive for the coronavirus that he wanted to mock and make fun of. So for the political parties, since they said this didn't need to be publicized and the other Democratic Party was making it political, they were making this political. How does it feel? How does it feel for you to come out and mock, lie to the American people as usual and play with people's lives like it's funny and make a mockery out of something so serious? Now you have it. How does that feel? But people want to say this administration is no different from President Obama. That's a lie. Now let's go to, what was it, the Ebola breakout, and then it was another one, H, what was it, H something something. One, they were not playing and saying it was a fictitious virus or a fictitious outbreak or anything. 2, they did what they had to do. That included flying over to other countries, collecting the data with their specialists, and getting the information so it would not continue to fester and spread in this nation. That's what a president is supposed to do. Not have a group of senators who people voted on sent up there to represent them playing like it's funny. It's funny, huh? Now they got it. Is it still funny? That's what I want to know. Is it still funny? Is it still a hoax now? Or do they want to be serious about serious business, the business of taking care of the people and the citizens of the United States of America? When they took the oath of office, that's what they stated they would do. No, these two administrations are not the same. Okay, I'm pulling it up. Hey, John. Oh, it was the H1N1 virus, right? I couldn't think of. Hey, yes, Soup, I see you. I couldn't think of it right off the bat. The H1N1. I know about Ebola, Avalon. Yeah, I'm pulling it up. So what I'm doing, John Q, is I'm breaking down the two different administrations, because people need to know that it is vital that we as United States citizens do vote. And I did vote today to see who we run against this number 45, that I'm in my 40s. The callousness, the cold-hearted, cantankerousness of this administration and this president is outlandish. Now, I'm not going to get there tonight, but tomorrow, like I said, I said I'm comparing and contrasting. I'm looking at the economy, and I said I would start with Jeff Sessions and Barr tonight. Well, I'm starting with what's right here in everybody's faces, the viruses. I'm going to touch on the Justice Department, and I'm going to touch on judges too tomorrow, because as citizens, we need to know how we vote impact generations to come. When presidents and their administrations are in offices, it affects generations to come. And what you have oftentimes are generations suffering or paying a price for policies and legislations that they didn't put in place. They weren't even born. A lot of times when some of these policies were put in place and enacted, we weren't even born then. And it impacts our lives today. And it'll impact the lives of future generations. This administration has been extremely callous, cold-hearted, selfish, greedy, and downright cynical. And you still get a group of people, and it's their right to vote for them. Okay, you have a right to vote for whoever you want to vote for. But what you will not do is sit up there and tell everybody else that this is the same as the previous administration. Like we can't think with the right and left side of our brains, and that like we won't use the thing that we have between our two ears. Don't play us like we stupid. Don't play us like we dumb. Don't play us like we cannot comprehend. Don't play everybody like they just have a microwave memory. We don't. Don't play us like the facts and the information are not out there and we won't run them. We will. See, you get cases like Kanika Jenkins, you get cases like Laquan McDowell, you get cases like Tamir Rice, you get all these cases that need to be handled by these judges. You get different administrations in there, and they're pushing laws, or they're blocking laws that can benefit people. They're coming up with erroneous laws that have never should have been put on books and passed. You get people in there cutting funding for programs funding should never be cut for. And I'll say it again, it's completely disingenuous for a group of people, I don't care what ethnic group you're from, to sit there and say this administration is like President Obama's administration. The two are the same. No, they're not. So let me go here to how they handled Ebola. Flashback, because we comparing and contrasting, right? We comparing and contrasting, right? Make sure you vote, people, this year.
This is something that we take very seriously. As soon as there is an outbreak anywhere in the world of any disease that could have significant effects, the CDC is in communication with the World Health Organization and other multilateral agencies to try to make sure that we've got an appropriate response. This has been a more aggressive Ebola outbreak than we've seen in the past. But keep in mind that it is still I think it's 3 countries, and we've got some 50 countries represented at this summit. We are doing 2 things. With respect to the summit itself, we're taking the appropriate precautions. Folks who are coming from these countries that have even a marginal risk or an infinitesimal risk of having been exposed in some fashion, we're making sure we're doing screening on that end of, as they leave the country. We'll do additional screening when we're here. We feel confident that the procedures that we put in place are appropriate. More broadly, the CDC and our various health agencies are going to be working very intently with the World Health Organization and some of our partner countries to make sure that we can surge some resources down there and organization to these countries that are pretty poor and don't have a strong public health infrastructure, so that we can start containing the problem. Keep in mind that Ebola is not something that is easily transmitted. Dissipate. Key is identifying, isolating those who contract it, and making sure that practices are in place that avoid transmission. And it can be done, but it's got to be done in a...
That was a big difference for the people who want to say these 2 administrations are one and the same and they shouldn't vote because they're just going to get more of the same. No, you're not. One president was very active, not playing with the lives of citizens of a country he took the oath of office to represent. Why this one? Sitting up here making jokes, calling it a hoax, calling it a political game, making it political, mocking it. Very different. One more compassion and caring. The other one, callous, cold-hearted. Very cold-hearted. Okay. Now I'm going to the H1N1 and how that was being handled. Oh, okay. Okay, sorry for the loud clicks in the background again. So people want to say again, oh, well, maybe I won't vote because the 2 administrations are the same. No, they're not. No, the heck they're not. But since you want to compare the presidents, here we go. Make this as plain as I can get it.
President Barack Obama urgently convened his
today. Anybody be alarmed?
but I do want everybody to be prepared.
The H1N1 virus is different than most flu strains. Young people are 20 times more likely to get it than people over 60.
Strongly recommended.
But infectious disease experts aren't so sure. Flu vaccines are in trials right now, but the earliest they could be ready is October. A spike in the H1N1 virus could come sooner.
The question is not, can we produce enough vaccine over time? Can we produce enough vaccine quickly enough to get it into people's arms before the disease gets here?
Since the first outbreak of the H1N1 virus last spring, more than 1 million people have been infected. 553 have died. Public health officials are preparing for a second surge as school starts, but they're not necessarily predicting one.
It could be more than what we saw last spring. It could be less than what we saw last spring. And the date in which the first cases begin to occur cannot be predicted.
New York City has seen more new flu cases than anywhere in the country. The city estimates up to 800,000 cases, and today announced flu shots will be available for its 1 million school kids.
If they're available to us, we know how to distribute it.
Meanwhile, the federal government is launching a prevention effort aimed at kids.
Always sneeze or cough into the bend of your arm.
Like this. Achoo.
Starring Elmo from Sesame Street with some tips.
Happy and healthy on Sesame Street.
Difference with this one, number 45 with this one, I think everything is funny. And then you have senators in there playing around like this is a joke from the Republican Party, and they get it. And I'll ask the question again tonight, is it funny? Is it funny now? You wanted to mock it. Is it funny? Now you got it. And you have this number 45 in there playing around like he's been playing around for the last 4+ years. Mocking people with disabilities, talking about grandma, anybody, everybody. Like, and then you get them sent out here where it could be and people going to work and you're okay with it. No. No. Now that's just the spirit of dumb and stupidity. I'll say it again. That's just the spirit of dumb and stupidity. To sit up there and say a virus that's communicatable is okay for people to just go to work with it. People are going to work with it and they're doing okay with it. How dumb can you be? It's a Michigan thing we say here. How dumb can you be? But we want to compare the two administrations, right? People are out here saying they're the same. How dumb can you be? They're not the same. But as I have my little commentation in here, you'll see it for yourself over the next few days. And I don't want anyone to stay in the category of the how dumb can you be category. Let's make our decisions based on what's factual. What can be proven? And let's also consider information that we do not have that we still need. And let's factor all of that into an equation. But I just want to admonish everyone to make sure you vote this year. Okay. Like I said, I have a lot of information in the background pulled up pertaining to Jeff Sessions and Barr and the Justice Department and just the different policies. We'll compare and contrast. We will show why I believe that this has been a very cold, careless, callous-hearted president. And I'm talking about number 45. And I'm not just saying that to say that. I will substantiate my claim based on what can be proven and what has happened. But when I say that, I need to take people back to Richard Nixon. Because when Richard Nixon ran, and you'll understand where I'm going, as I lay the groundwork for this, Richard Nixon ran on law and order. And when Nixon ran on law and order, we remember the bills that he put in place. And someone from his administration later on came out and said he ran on law and order, and they were sitting down, drafting up legislation and approving legislation that were specifically targeting the mass incarceration of African American people here in the United States. Now, I'm going to show that. I have that pulled up. I'll show that tomorrow. Fast forward to when Trump ran. Part of his platform was running on what? Law and order, just like Nixon did. No police accountability. With the administration, his staff that he selected to prove such, Barr, Sessions. Oh, we gonna go there tomorrow. We going there. Yeah, stacking the deck with judges. Barr and Sessions coming in, no consent decrees for police departments. Everything that the Obama administration had put in point to hold the police accountable for the heinous and hideous crimes they committed against people, murdering people, suppressing evidence intentionally, spoiling evidence intentionally. What did this administration do? We'll proof up our claim tomorrow in greater detail. And I think it should be no surprise to anyone over here that I do not like the actions, characteristics, or behavior of this president. But I'm going to show it. I'm curing the video in the background. The Mr. Law and Order. When we don't learn from history, it repeats itself. When we do not learn from history, it repeats itself. And people wouldn't. In 2016, this is what Trump was saying. It was going over a lot of people's head. When he said, let's make America great again, that went over a lot of people's heads. Some people caught it, some people did. Well, here it is. Let you hear it from his lips.
Law and order must be restored.
It's 2016.
Restored for the sake of all, but most especially for the sake of those living in the affected communities, of which there are many. The main victims of these riots are law-abiding African-American citizens living in these neighborhoods. It's their job, it's their homes, it's their schools and communities which will suffer the most as a result.
Oh, hold on.
There's
Let me
no
pause right
compassion
there. I have to say
in
something.
tolerating lawless conduct. for anyone. It must be restored.
Okay, let's go back to the 60s. Yeah. Riots after Martin Luther King was assassinated. Riots after Malcolm X was assassinated. Riots. And 64 and 65, just riots. The riots behind Mike Brown being murdered by the police. Hands up, don't shoot. Riots behind Rodney King being beat. We're usually the ones out there rioting for a reason. And our reason is usually police brutality. And it's been unfortunate that oftentimes when we're in the moment, we're not going to delay the gratification when something happens that's tragic like that. We're going to turn up. And it always starts off as a peaceful protest, us using our constitutional right to assemble and protest peacefully. I've watched it over and over again. Then the police show up and start pushing people back, using intimidation tactics, bullying tactics against citizens who are exercising their constitutional rights. Then it turns into a riot. After the police has agitated and excited violence. Be very clear about that.
Which will suffer the most on the poor and will never be.
I just wanted y'all to hear that law and order part must be restored. That's Nixon, law and order candidate. He ran on law and order. Richard Nixon did that years ago, law and order. He comes along, law and order. And if you go back and historically look at it, law and order meant lock the Black people up, please. Put them in prisons. Incarcerate the African American. And let the police run wild and rampant. And let's not hold them accountable for anything. And we wonder why. Cases like Tamir Rice and Mike Brown and Laquan McDowell and Botham Jean and Kanika Jenkins and the others, when it involves police, can take so long, and why they can drag their feet and why they sit up and do what they do, because they have been allowed to do it without any severe punishment. And I'm talking about not punishing just the Hispanic ethnic group or the African American ethnic group and letting other ethnic groups go free and get a pass. I'm talking about across the board overall, holistically. Police departments have never faced the severity of what they should have faced for murdering citizens in the United States of America. Innocent citizens. They have never faced a penalty like they should have because of the laws at the federal level, then the state level and the local level projected and enacted such. You probably wouldn't get so much foolishness going on from them. But no, under this administration, oh no, let's not hold the police accountable. Let's start doing away with dissent decrees and plucking apart policies and legislations that were put in place to hold them accountable. And let's just let everybody run rampant, have no restraint. And let's not hold them accountable. Let's not hold the police department accountable. Let's not hold even his own self accountable. A sitting impeached president. Senate, let's not hold him accountable for violating legislation we drafted up and created. Let's let him run wild and free. Let's not even bring in the evidence. Let's not even really allow all the witnesses to speak. Let's give him a pass. Let's not hold him accountable. So, I want to say it again, as a people, we cannot afford to sit by idle and not vote this year. We are impacting future generations, those who are yet to be born, and for the people who think you don't have to vote because this administration is just like President Obama administration, and President Obama didn't do nothing for anybody and you didn't get nothing and blah, 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 blah. Like I said, we're going to compare and contrast, and we're going to make educated decisions based off the fact, and we're going to not be frequenting the website www.howdumbcanyoube. We don't want to be on that website every day, all day. We want to be on a different website, right? So. Right, John, Watergate happened. And Black communities. He did say and Black communities, and the Black communities. We're going to get to those riots tomorrow. Me, when in my research mode, I always have at least 50 different resources plus pulled up. Me, and honestly, I probably got 100 saved, right? Emailed to myself. So I always want people to be informed. I want people to have the information, and that's why I did that live earlier about Alabama, because we saw Nathaniel Woods get electrocuted. We saw a temporary stay get granted, and then we see a governor in Alabama lift the stay and electrocute an innocent man. Then we go back and we look at the laws in Alabama, where you would seek to hold one accountable for their actions, right? You would seek to hold the governor accountable for their actions, right? Of that state, electrocuting innocent people, right? And you find out you cannot recall the governor. That's no accountability. That's no responsibility. That's not giving people an option to fire the person they hired. In this state, we can recall anybody. We can recall mayors. We can recall governors. We can recall council people. And I look at Alabama and different. And so I show the maps of states where you can recall governors, hold them accountable for their heinous actions, right? Inhumane actions, right? And my goodness, every state over here is not on the, every state over here is not on there. And we wonder why there has been perpetually a lack of justice. and why there has been injustice. Well, if in your state, you're not going to have laws to hold those in authority accountable to the fullest degree, that means being able to terminate them, get them up off that job, fire them, let them go, make sure they are relinquished, especially when they are in the seat of authority to dictate what can happen to someone else's life, you're going to keep getting what you get. Alabama, you all need to turn up. You need to turn up, and you need to make sure your state got laws on your books that benefit people in human life. You need to turn up. You need to make sure you have laws to hold your elected officials accountable. You need to turn up. Somebody need to put pencil to paper, pen to paper, and get some language approved and push it through so it passes, and make sure it does not stop. Now, election night tonight in Michigan, deciding who will run against number 45. Like I said, Joe Biden, projected winner. No surprise here in this state to me. It's not surprising. Let's say auto industry, not surprising to me. But I would like to remind us, we not only need to be focused on who's going to be president, we need to focus on down ballots too. That's senators, Congress people who are going to be in the House of Representatives representing you, and who are going to be in the Senate seat representing you. Okay. Mitch McConnell needs to go. He should have been gone. Kentucky, get him up out of there. Do you know how many, for years, do you know how many bills this one right here has blocked and stopped with the help of others? But this one right here, from past to present, I'm gonna just, let me jump right into 2020, 2019, since this administration has been in office. Let's go last 4 years, right? Almost 4 years. A host of bills sitting on his desk that he refused to bring to the floor. It's the minority leader over there. He's not going to bring them up. You don't get to vote on them. They won't be passed, and they won't be enacted as law. Okay? Sitting on them. We saw what he did when President Obama was in office. Get this clown up out of here. Mitch McConnell should have been gone a long time ago. Long time ago. Get him up out of there. So as we focus on voting, as we focus on what's advantageous for us for real as a people over here in the United States of America, let's make sure that we have our 2020 vision about us. Let's make sure we have our eagle eyes on. That means even when our eyes are closed, we still see. Let's make sure we do that. We can talk till the cows come home, but we have got to put the work in all the way around. We cannot afford to sit by and be passive. We cannot afford to sit by and become despondent. We cannot afford to just sit by in neutral, and we cannot afford to sit by silently. So with that being said, thank you all for streaming. Again, like I say, I'll stream what I have really prepared tonight, tomorrow. I got caught up on the phone and got caught up looking at the different election results coming in tonight. And now I'm going to go eat. So thank you all for streaming. Bye-bye, everybody. Tomorrow I'll make sure I have the music on.